Hello everyone, welcome to the first year panel that we have for this year. My name is Tom, I'm the president of UQCS this year. You'll see other committee members around. With us tonight we have 5, pending 6 very accomplished people who are here to answer your questions about what university life is like. If you're not a first year, that doesn't matter as well. You can just ask questions. Lots of these people have industry experience as well. But if you're a first year, it's especially great because you get to ask questions about what the next few years are going to be like, what the degree is like, what courses are good to do, which ones aren't so good to do, and what you can do to improve your chances of getting a job come time that you graduate. UQCS, if you went on our trivia night, this is something we put up, just a brief explanation of what we are. We hold a lot of events, 1 a week at absolute least, sometimes we do 2. I don't think 3 has been attempted, don't quote me on that. Pretty much our job is to connect you with industry and to connect you with each other. So university, it's pretty good, you get to come to classes and stuff, but you don't get a lot of opportunity to engage with people in your cohort. UQCS exists to connect you with other people in computer science, mathematics, really any degree you do. So it's great to come along, you get to meet a lot of friendly people, you get to connect with people in industry. We have a lot of sponsors who want people like you to come and work at their companies and come for internship roles and such. And on top of that, we give you lots of free food. So every week you get a feed at absolute least, even if you don't get anything out of the event. So, how can you connect with us? If you're not already, you can find us on any one of the 6 above. We're on YouTube, we're currently live streaming. So on top of that, if you don't want your voice on YouTube, maybe don't stream out. If you do though, maybe still don't, people will be talking. But we have a LinkedIn, we have Discord, that's where a central place of communication is for all events and things. We have a Facebook page where you can find events like this posted up. We have an Instagram if you're into that as well. We'll just post up pretty pictures of all our events like tonight and our barbecue yesterday. So all of this wouldn't be possible unless we didn't have all of our sponsors. They provide us a lot of resources that enable us to make events like this possible, including sponsoring things like tonight's pizza, which will be delivered out at 6 o'clock as well. So, with all that, our panelists for tonight, you see before you sitting 5 people. There is a 6th coming, Courtney. Courtney is unfortunately just running a little bit late as she was in a meeting, but she'll be here in about 10 minutes or so. We'll introduce her as she arrives. But the people we have between us, you'll see David, here on the left, Josh, Miriam, Will, and Ewan. These people will be introduced briefly when I hand over to Madhav in just a second, and they're here to answer all your questions about university life. So without further ado, I'll now hand it over to Madhav. Thank you all for coming, and hope you get something out of it.
Hey everyone, welcome to the first year panel. So firstly, I'll just let the panelists introduce themselves and I will ask, what do you study and why did you pick your degree? Have you changed degrees since the beginning? Sorry, you can go alphabetical order. So David, Josh. Yeah, sorry, that order on the screen. Right to left.
Alright, mic check. Excellent. Hi, I'm David. About 9 years ago now, I finished a degree in computer science back when it was under the Bachelor of Science. I chose that because it was a nice generalist way of learning about computers and how to work with them, and I didn't want to get too locked into software engineering or any of the other specific ones.
Hey, I'm Josh. I started out doing mechanical engineering and maths because I kind of wasn't sure what I wanted to start with, and I just wanted an engineering degree that kind of paired with mathematics nicely. As I went on through my degree, I realized I really liked electrical engineering and a lot of software-based things, so I moved into that pretty quickly.
Hi, I'm Miriam. I'm third year in computer science. I studied CSSC 1001 as part of the Enhanced Studies program in Year 12. On a whim, kind of. I enjoyed it. I found I was good at it, so kept going. Haven't changed degrees.
Hi, I'm Will. I'm a second year computer science mathematics student. I've not changed degrees. I decided to do this degree because it's fun. I thought it would be fun, and it is fun. It's presumably useful to, what else? I think it's called.
Hello, I'm Yuan. I'm in 4th year. I'm studying maths and computer science. I sort of didn't really know what I was doing when I chose this degree, but it looked fun, and yeah, here I am now.
Yeah, so was it after the first bout of questions, I guess, we'll open up to the audience. So feel free to ask any and all questions that you have. And yeah, I guess you can feel free to make it like for one panelist or all of them, but yeah. So second question, what are some of the notable things that you've done for employment, societies, or competitions since you started or ended university? So yeah, do you want to go again, David?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry, actually, no, you go, and then
Do I pass the microphone?
Reverse,
No,
reverse
you
order
go.
makes sense.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so during my time at university, I didn't really do much in my first year, but then I did get a job in software for my second year. I didn't really do much after that. I did some tutoring as well. I did an internship over the summer. That was pretty good. And yeah, this year I'm on the committee, so that's going to be pretty fun as well.
Okay, so what was it? Employment, societies, and competitions. I just now this year got a job as a CSC 1001 tutor and a Math 1061 tutor, so you can be a tutor as a second year, and yeah, I would recommend it. What else? Societies, nothing. I've done a few competitions. I did, what was it? I think it was called the Code Jam last year. It's like a comparative programming competition trying to write programs which pass certain test cases as correctly as possible in as short amount of time as possible. That's pretty fun. I got second place in that thing. I also did a hackathon last year, which is like you pretty much like don't sleep for a weekend and then you make some kind of a project. And my team got the best first year prize and $300. So it was well worth it.
In terms of clubs and societies, I don't think I've really done much, to be honest. I'm just kind of here. I did an internship over the summer, which resulted in me landing a part-time position during the semester, which I'm really looking forward to and enjoying so far. Aside from that, not much, to be honest.
In my first couple of years, I went pretty ham with doing clubs and societies things. I started out doing some technical work for UQCS, which is like the uni's rocketry team, and just working on payload engineering stuff for them, which was really good for like first hands-on technical experience. After that, at the moment, I'm Vice President for Media for EUS, Engineering Represent. And I've also been on the Society for the Australian Youth and Aerospace Society Association, which was good, just kind of get some industry experience. In terms of internships, I did 2 over last holiday, and I'll be working with both those companies part-time this year.
From my perspective, I think the main thing I did was a bunch of networking. Back in the day, that was on IRC more than anything else. These days, I'd probably be Discord. What was the other thing I was going to mention? Yeah, just hanging out with friends, meeting new people, getting involved in new things. I was also a member of a fairly short-lived coding interview club, where we sort of met up and asked each other questions and learned how the interview works from both sides from the interview. And that was really valuable. It wasn't rocket science though. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Was it just a little shill on from that? We will have Code Jam later in the semester, as well as Hackathon in semester 2, and mock interviews with Lid later this semester. But yeah, how do you feel about side projects and like having a portfolio? Do you enjoy spending time on them? Have they added credibility to for jobs?
Yes, I'll start.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do I enjoy spending time on them? Yes. Have they added credibility? No. The only time anyone has mentioned something before I was hired was one time someone was impressed by my custom email domain, which took all of 10 minutes to set up. It's a lot of fun though, and I found that I broadened skills that simply don't show up normally in the workplace, but are very beneficial when you do.
Yeah, I've only worked on probably like one side project and actually completed it. All the other ones I've never ended up completing. And I wouldn't recommend trying to go online onto YouTube and look at some, I don't know, Python machine learning project and be like, oh, I'm going to put that on my resume, but then not enjoy it at all and barely even complete it. Definitely only do a side project if you really enjoy it, and you can discuss it as well during the interview, because it's not really worth trying to rush something and have it sitting in your resume if you're not going to be able to discuss it well.
I also have an issue with completing side projects. I have a lot of ideas and then I plan them out, even down to like functions sometimes, and then I don't finish them. So I don't really have anything to like a portfolio per se. I enjoy spending time on them, of course. Otherwise I wouldn't do them. But I do also think it's kind of ridiculous that we're all expected to. Like, you wouldn't expect an accounting major to do accounting on the weekends, right? That's just a personal feeling though. If you enjoy it, it's definitely worth doing, I think. But also not strictly necessary, I think.
Yeah, so I've done a few side projects, but not many of them are public. I've made a lot of Discord bots, which is pretty fun. What else? Yeah, is it helpful for employment? I have no idea. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
I've done like half of a side project. I don't think it really came to help me in employment. A lot of people didn't ask at all. I know some places do, but I didn't get asked about it. Yeah.
Cool. So, another question. What are some of the recommended technical skills and non-technical skills that you think you should pick up? Starting with you, Yuan.
I think definitely talking to people is good. Definitely like try and make friends with people in your courses. I think that's a really good idea. Also, I think maybe like not really technical, but it's always good to know, or I guess to practice asking good questions. And I think that that's something, especially when you go like do internships, I think that that's really valuable. It'll help you learn a lot, and I think it'll help you a lot in terms of like communication as well.
Yeah, I think you should learn how to use the command line. That's pretty helpful. And you should know a variety of programming languages, each of which are kind of different from each other, because that way it's kind of easier to pick up a new programming language because you can see how the various syntax or features or whatever are similar to what you already know. Non-technical skills. I don't know about non-technical skills. Typing speed is important. So just try practice fast typing or something. Okay.
I feel like you'll hear this a lot, but Git is very important, very prevalent everywhere. Particularly, this is kind of hard to practice on your own, but merging two branches is a royal pain in the ass. So if you can get practice with that, that's lovely, that's very helpful. I'd also, this is kind of more vague, but writing your own packages that you can apply broadly to a number of projects, to a number of anything really, because you'll find a lot, I guess, generic abstract functions that you can use in multiple places will really come in handy. Non-technical, I can second the thing about learning to ask good questions. I think that's very, very valuable.
For technical, I would just build on what's previously said. Definitely get a good grasp on some generic DevOps things. So obviously Git and GitHub, and also maybe Docker and some Kubernetes stuff. It's really impressive when you can walk into a workspace and kind of understand that already and not have to have them help you set up things. So yeah, just a few generic DevOps things to learn would be good. In terms of non-technical, obviously talking to people, that's how you can score jobs very easily and very quickly, is just by befriending a lot of people that work at different companies. And also asking questions is very crucial. Yeah, while you're in an internship, that's a very good way to get a job part-time, is by showing that you want to learn and grow as an employee.
From a technical perspective, +1 to learning the peripheral tools that you need to be able to operate, like the command line, some editor, some IDE. I sat down when I got a Python-based job and I learned PyCharm. That was really valuable stuff, like the refactoring of it. Tools were fantastic. From a non-technical perspective, this one isn't about jobs so much as university life, but I'd recommend figuring out how to have a stable lifestyle, eating properly, getting enough sleep, not abusing caffeine, not necessarily abusing alcohol. It sounds really dull, but having that stable base means that you can think better, you can learn better, you're more capable and generally happier, and that's important.
Okay, so on to the next question. What are some of your favorite and least favorite courses at university then?
It was a while ago. I really enjoyed CCC 2310. That is not the perspective shared by everyone, and that is totally understandable. But I loved the challenge. I loved having creative assignments. Oh, sorry, Ryan.
Oh, I was going to say on that note, I know that a lot of students struggle from going from 1001 and 2002 to 2310. Do you have any advice for managing that trip, I guess?
I'm not sure I do, to be honest. I was one of those students who struggled with that. It was a major spike in difficulty, and I maybe wasn't entirely ready. What I ended up doing was allocating more time to that course and spending more time on assignments than I think the lecturer was intending. And I ground through it. Is that the best way? I don't know. But it was a very interesting, beneficial course, very creative, and I learned a lot during the process.
I would also recommend, like, before the course, during the holidays, I kind of started learning piping and multi-threading before I went into that course, and it's definitely good, I would say, to work on that stuff. So then you don't go into it and get hit by all those topics and concepts that you need to learn, because they're going to be in the assignments for them. But I would also say that 2310 was probably one of my favourite courses. Whilst it is still brutal, it's definitely been improved as a course, but it's still a little bit brutal. It's the one that you're going to learn most general, like, programming. It's like, I've used it at work, even though I haven't used any other subjects at work. That's definitely been the one that you will probably use in industry, whether it's just the logic that you learn from it, or the networking, or some of the other concepts. I would say I also really enjoyed CSC 1001, because that's what made me want to do coding in the first place. Courses I don't like, I'm going to be a grumpy person and say maybe one or two. Int's 1200 was incredibly boring. No offense to anyone's like parent teaches that or something, but I didn't enjoy it because it's like, whilst it might be crucial for database theory and all that, I found it was quite dreary. I still do enjoy using SQL, and I use it at work sometimes, but I just didn't really enjoy the format of that, and it's kind of hard to stick to that course and try and still do well at it, because it's very easy to kind of not go to the classes for that because of how boring it can be.
I'm gonna be the third one to say I really enjoyed 2310. It was one of the hardest times in my life. I cried a lot, but it really did help so much. In terms of preparing for 2310, I feel like learning to plan like an entire program is really underrated. What I would do is go through on paper, figure out the different components that would be needed, the different data structures I need to use, and I think that really helped me get it done in a reasonable time frame. I also really enjoyed Comp 3702 last semester, which is artificial intelligence. I love Alina Bialkowski, I think that's how it's pronounced. She's lovely. The course was lovely. Very interesting material. I'd highly recommend you check it out once you get to that point. Also, CSC 2002. Nothing in particular. I just really like generics, and that's where they introduce them. Courses I didn't like. 3506 is a very important course. That's data structures and algorithms. I feel it is kind of maybe. I'm watching my words here. It's very important. I feel the course material hasn't been updated in a while, and there's kind of poor communication sometimes.
Yeah, so as a second year student doing a dual degree, I haven't actually done a lot of courses, but I can share Josh's sentiment about CSSC 1001 and INFS 1200. If I have to choose my very most favourite and least favourite courses, probably my most favourite is Math 1071, which was, it was a bit of a step up from high school, like suddenly going from non-abstract math to abstract math. Really, yeah. But it was a lot of fun. I think more than half of people dropped the course after the first few weeks, but those who stuck with it tended to enjoy it. Least favourite course, let's say Stat 1301. Not really my cup of tea.
Most favorite course, yeah, I really like doing CSC 1001 in first year. That was really fun. I think that's what really got me into, or made me realize, oh yeah, I probably want to continue doing this. Another course that's really good if you study maths is Math 3202. That's operations research. That's really fun, and it's a lot of coding as well, but it's sort of, you look at it, it's a very different way to solve problems, so that's quite fun. Courses that I didn't really enjoy, I didn't really like doing Deco 3801. That's like a teamwork course where you get in a group and make an app, and then you also have to make like 2 videos and 2 presentations about it. I don't really like that part. It also wasn't really clear like what the criteria was, or like we didn't really get really clear feedback. And I think it's a lot of effort because you have to make a lot of content. But yeah, yeah.
Yep, cool. Oh, what's it? Our 6th panelist has just arrived, so I will let Whitney come up and also maybe answer this question. What your, least favorite and favorite course at university was. Also, feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Courtney. I'm so sorry for being late. I graduated from computer science last year, and I'm doing my honors now. Favorite course and least favorite course. Bad news first. Least favorite course was Comp 4702, machine learning. I took that last year. It felt quite disorganized to me, and the concepts were a bit theoretical in nature. I feel like some other INFS courses and STAT courses cover that material in more depth. So if you are interested in machine learning, I mean, take it. There's a lot of breadth, but if you're really interested in how stuff works, maybe look at other alternative courses as well. Favorite course? I think 2310 was said a lot, and I definitely agree there. I also really liked Comp 3320, which was the ethical hacking. I think renamed to like vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. I'm coming from a non-cybersecurity background, so I didn't do prereqs at all, but it was really interesting, and I highly recommend you take it if you're happy. Like, there's a lot, the teaching staff is really supportive there too, and you get to learn so much.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, there was a question in the chat asking, can you tell what the internship process is like? Do they focus on technical questions, or is it based more on behavioral type questions? Yeah, you can answer and then go around. Yeah.
Just internships in general.
Yep.
Like the interview process. For me, the role I kind of worked in for my internship, it actually didn't ask that many technical questions. The hardest question I got was how can you brute force something, and that was with four loops. And there are only 4 options anyway. So most students who have done 1001 should be able to complete that fairly easily. There are like no hidden tricks as well. So some roles are more technical than others. I guess it can depend on your company, but a lot of the time they do really look at your personality and your potential to grow. So yeah, show that you're passionate.
I didn't end up doing an internship. They sound pretty cool, but I don't know much about that. I will just steal my mic time to add though. The compilers and interpreters course, Comp 4403, was one of my other favourites. It's really interesting to see how language is structured, and it's really helpful in reading error messages and syntax errors later in life.
Also, just going to add on really quick, I know it's easy, like it's probably, if you see us talking about 2310, be like, oh, it's easy to say that in hindsight, now that you guys passed that, but it definitely is like, yeah, worth putting the time in for it. In terms of interview questions, I would say, depends on the company a lot. I don't really enjoy often applying to the larger, like the Facebook, Apple, Netflix, all those larger companies that require some more technical experience for those kinds of questions, and you've got to do a bunch of leak code. Usually, if you're applying to smaller, like startup-based companies, the technical questions aren't as brutal. You still can have them, but they're more like fairly based, and they kind of walk through it a little bit better. And they're definitely more about the culture and how you react to certain things. So yeah.
My internship was at a startup. It's probably going to be a pretty different experience to how, say, FANG interviews would be. I didn't really get asked technical questions. It was more there was like one system design question based on like a particular project that they wanted interns to work on. So basically nothing in my experience, but that's a startup.
I have no idea.
Sadly, I've been through this process way too many times. I found that for big tech companies, they have a lot of applicants, so they try to filter you out by giving you like a hacker rank sort of type question. It's basically like this online platform. You write some code, you submit it, they see if it works, and then usually that one is far less lenient than actually getting a coding interview. So yeah, I think I've been filtered out by that quite a few times. I think smaller companies, I would agree, are a bit more lenient as well. They tend to ask more personality, or at least, yeah, most companies do tend to have like a personality part of the interview. And if they don't, then they might have like a technical interview on the phone or like in person where they can sort of judge if you'd be a good person to work with. I think especially if you have if you have a interview where you're like on the phone or like in person, I think having really like clear communication is quite important, not just like getting the questions right. Yeah, I think, yeah.
Did anyone from the floor have any questions that they wanted to ask? Feel free to put your, yep.
Sorry, I'm asking another question. When did everyone here start programming? Like, did you have any programming experience in high school or when you were young, or did you start programming when you started university?
Okay, yeah, so I've done no programming before coming to university, and yeah, at the start I was very intimidated. I wasn't really sure what it was going to be about, but I think that like the first year like university courses do sort of like try to take it slow, and like even if you don't know anything about programming, they do like sort of start from like this position where like they don't really expect you to know anything. So that's pretty good. Of course, it does help a lot if you've done a bit of programming before. I think that it makes the whole process a lot easier, but yeah, I didn't really do any before I came to uni.
Yeah, well, if my memory serves me correct, I think I learned Python in like the age of 12 or something, and I learned C in grade 10, and that's about it.
I found myself in CCC 1001. That's right. I found myself, I think, surrounded by people who were, I guess, the stereotype of I learned to code in the room. I was writing Minecraft in Excel when I was 12, you know. I had zero experience coming into 2001, and I did fine, and continuing to do fine. Like, my only experience before starting like university courses was, I think, one of those Lego robot things. That's barely programming. You'll be fine if you don't have any experience. University is a wonderful place to get your first experience, I think.
Yeah, the advantage that people have of doing coding in school, it's good at, like for probably the first couple of weeks of 1001, but it wears off pretty quickly. I went through my first year even not wanting to do coding and being very against coding and never trying it. And I got to second year and I did 1001. I'm like, wait a minute, I actually like this. I know what I was doing. So you can pick it up very quickly as long as, yeah, you're a pretty logical thinker. So don't worry at all if you haven't done any coding whatsoever, because I was definitely very inexperienced.
Yeah, pretty much what Mary said. It helps maybe, and you will be surrounded by people who have been doing lots of it, but I didn't have barely any. I think I made a basic website in HTML and Notepad once, and did fine.
Like Will, I kind of started at the age of 12 because my family had some background. But even then, just like learning stuff off Code Academy, it actually didn't really equip me well for university. And to be honest, I did actually struggle quite a lot in first year. So even if you have like background and some years of experience, it may not translate well into uni, so I wouldn't feel pressured at all.
Yeah, I had programmed in Scratch before starting uni, and I don't think that really helped that much. Are there any other questions from the floor? And yeah, feel free to ask as many as you want. Anyone back there? Do you have a question?
If you're currently working at a company, what company do you work for, and what do you sort of do in your job?
This week, on Monday, I started my full-time role at Amazon. So I'm a software development engineer.
I am an infrastructure engineer at Canva.
In a couple of days, I'll start working as a consultant for EY, doing like energy market modeling. And then in September, I will then go into a position at Mycelium doing full stack developer work.
I work for Auto, which is a company founded by one of our alumni at UQCS, Harry Guthrie. I'm not sure what my title will be actually. I'm a full stack developer, I guess, I think.
I don't have a real job as such. Last year I used to work for McDonald's, but I quit that.
I also don't really have a job at the moment. In second year, I was working for Working Mouse, and basically I was doing a lot of like web dev, mobile dev. Yeah.
I'd say tutoring counts, but yeah.
I was also tutoring.
Was there any other questions? Yeah?
When you guys got your first internships, what kind of experience do you have for like coding experience, like actual work experiences?
Yeah, so I did my first internship this summer, or like this previous summer. Yeah, so I had like the web and mobile dev sort of experience, but I wouldn't say it was very useful at all because it didn't really have anything to do with what I was doing in the internship. And I think that in an internship, they do, I guess it depends on the company, but at least when I was doing an internship, they don't really expect me to know a whole lot about anything. And so I think they definitely put a lot into like trying to teach me like the technology that they were using, and I think a lot of the people that I was working with also sort of started from like a place of like not knowing anything. Maybe it's because like they were doing like functional programming, which I think a lot of like, well at least here they don't really teach that a lot. But yeah, it was, yeah, there was a lot of like chances for learning, and I think that they do expect you to learn a lot. And yeah, they definitely don't expect you to know everything when you come in. So even if you don't have a whole lot of experience, you're sort of like there to learn stuff anyway, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, functional programming is great. You should look into it.
My first internship was also this previous summer. The only real experience, like, it's not really experience, I had finished my second year. I'd done 2310. I'd done Comp 3506, which I think was also helpful. Data structures and algorithms are obviously broadly applicable to basically everywhere. Aside from that, I can definitely second that they don't expect you to know everything. They expect you to be, slower than people who have already been established working there. They expect you to be learning on the job, and that's fine. Like, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I went into my first internship only like being pretty well adept with Python and C, and then I started working in Golang and like TypeScript, which was just nothing to do with it really. It's definitely all about learning and just showing them as you're like in the interview that you're keen to learn and that you can learn very quickly and you're good at learning things. So yeah, definitely just show that you're a logical thinker and kind of ready to pick up new skills and new tasks, and show some experience with programming obviously as well. That's always needed.
Didn't do an internship.
My internship was also just this last summer. Yeah, they are really looking for your potential for growth, not really your experience as much. Yeah, just go for it, really.
Yeah.
It's probably a poorly worded question, but where is the best place for internships, like at networking dinners or online? Yeah.
For me, I actually didn't participate in that many networking events, mostly because I don't live close to uni and I was not very good at taking advantage of events like these, so it's good you guys came. Networking events, definitely, as well as just like Surfing Student Hub, they do a lot of job postings there, so you can keep your eyes peeled.
A lot of interest in internships. I just add that you can do other kinds of work. Any office job is a tech job these days. You can make it a tech job. So it doesn't have to be an internship with a FAC.
On top of networking events, I would say definitely just general like befriending people in student clubs at any event. That's a great way to get to know industry people and kind of, they might let you know if there's an internship on, or if there is one on, then you get a reference from them. So that's even almost as much as networking events themselves, just all like student events is really good. Yeah, I'd say that's mainly it. There's also the Engineering Careers Fair tomorrow, by the way.
Networking events feel really cynical to me, you know, like really corporatocracy or whatever. I think having friends, like having friends in a broad variety of areas, you'd be surprised at the kind of connections you can find there. I found my internship through the UQCS Discord, so I can chill that a little bit. That's honestly a good place to start looking.
Networking, what's that? Some kind of growth thing?
Yeah, I haven't done much networking, mainly because I wasn't really sure how. But I definitely agree with like making friends, like talking to people, meeting people in your like courses is pretty good. It seems like, depending on where you go, but it seems like referrals sort of go a long way. Looking for jobs though, I think UQCS had a page where there was like a few jobs on that. So yeah, just gonna show that for a bit. And yeah, there's like, I guess, yeah, like that's a pretty good place to look for jobs. I'm not really sure. I think there's one on UQ Portal with some jobs there as well. And a lot of those are like suitable for people who are still like students as well. So yeah, it's a good, I think a lot, like most of the like job looking process is a bit difficult because a lot of people don't want to hire like students. So looking at those places is probably good.
Yeah, UQCS has like, well, we used to have a jobs bulletin, which is the thing that UN was referring to. That isn't,
it technically still exists.
it does exist still, but it's not updated, which we might look at doing in a bit. But yeah, so UQCS will post opportunities from its sponsors throughout the year. And yeah, there's like, I guess oftentimes even in like the Discord, people will post opportunities from their companies like as soon as the applications come out. So yeah, and they'll also give like referrals and stuff from that. So yeah, UQCS is definitely a good like space to, I guess, look for these jobs and stuff. And yeah, I just like looking around the room, I see multiple people who have just gotten roles from having talked to people in UQCS. I was approached by someone in UQCS for a job. So yeah. Other questions? Yes.
I feel like this question is going to be a bit more relevant to Josh than a lot of other people, but I hope that it will be a bit more relevant to everyone as well. What made you choose computer science over other degrees that were available, or other majors that were available to you?
Yeah, so at the time when I chose it, there wasn't really much reasoning going on. I guess there are like a lot of degrees that are sort of similar to computer science, like engineering or like IT. Yeah, I'm not really sure why, if I'm honest. Yeah.
Yeah, so as I understand it, if you do computer science, you can get a job. That was kind of what I was thinking. I'm not sure if I'm correct, but I'm pretty confident that I am correct. And it's fun.
I tried 1001. I enjoyed 1001. I figured, like, you know, if I enjoy this so much, I may as well like continue on it. And I'm continuing to enjoy it. So yeah, I didn't really look at other fields per se.
Yeah, so when I started like in mechanical engineering, I kind of realized that a lot of degrees sometimes can tend towards rewarding people who remember theory. I really didn't like that, where you had to kind of read a textbook and memorize stuff or understand things in a textbook. And then I kind of started doing CSC 1001 and I realized it's a lot more about logical thinking, and you don't have to remember things. You can be faced with a new problem and just undertake it with a similar way. Similar to how maths is. So I really liked that aspect of it where my memory's really bad, so I kind of had trouble doing mechanical engineering, remembering thermodynamic stuff and all that theory. So I really enjoyed that aspect where, yeah, logic is rewarded over memorizing.
I chose computer science more or less by accident, but I still think it's a good idea because you get a lot of flexibility to study topics that you think are interesting, and because of the network effect of knowledge, the more things you know, the more connections you can make, the more it grows. Like, it's almost an exponential effect. And so doing random courses like relational databases, networking, compilers and interpreters, it adds up. And I don't know if it's still the case, but computer science used to offer the most flexibility in terms of choosing those electives.
Yeah, so mine might be the most superficial reason, but I wanted to jump in on the hype train of data science and machine learning. I got about, 1 year into electives and I realized this is not what I want to do. But yeah, like David said, there is a lot of flexibility, and I really ended up exercising that after I decided, this isn't really something I want to do, but there's so much other stuff I could do while at uni, so I guess that's why I chose mine.
Yeah, there's like relatively minute differences between like IT, computer science, and software engineering. And like Emily in the first year panel in like 2019 said, if you don't want to do Deco or IMS, do computer science. If you don't want to do like group projects, don't do software engineering. So then I guess some of the degrees just have like requirements that you might not want to do depending on your preferences. Yeah, other questions? Yes?
Do you have any advice to first years about how to do well in exams, but also do well in relation to learning how to program and then going on to like your next year?
In terms of doing well with the exams, it's more like keeping up with coursework. I have some friends, they like didn't go to tutorials, and at the end they were like spamming me. I don't know what this means, and there's no tutorial sheet answers, and it's just like try and keep up if you can, and usually those questions tend to be on the exam. So definitely try and keep up with tutorial sheets past exam papers in terms of schoolwork. For your own learning experience, try and do projects. Like, even if you can notice something you could automate, do it. I guess one thing I tell a lot of my friends, if you're using an IDE like IntelliJ or Python, learn the shortcuts. It looks cool, but it also really helps you with your code. You kind of learn how to structure it better, and it looks really cool. It's like magic.
Yeah, you can do a lot of magic tricks with your IDE. If there is a trade-off you need to make between doing well on the assignment and learning, then I would argue that learning is more important as long as you can scrape through to the next year. The two often do go hand in hand, but sometimes there is a compromise to be made.
I'm gonna probably hop on the opposite opinion here a little bit. I like to learn by doing the assignments and really like knowing the assignments in depth. A lot of the time it's very easy to skip lectures and stuff, but just try and go to every lecture, because the day that you skip a lecture is the day where you start to skip more and more lectures, and then you'll reach to the point where you don't go to any lectures, and that's really bad. So yeah, definitely try and go to every lecture, even if it means you're not taking notes. That's okay. You can maybe like do some notes summary at the end of the week. Just try and keep going to all lectures and tutorials, because it's really easy to let that fall apart, and then it's a bit of a pain in the end. But yeah, I would say definitely at the end of each week, try and, if you're working on programming courses, try and maybe do some example functions and get a good understanding of everything, get some print statements, getting stuff spat out, just know it pretty in depth of what you've learnt, especially if it's more of the complex topics like multi-threading or like multiprocessing or whatever it's called. But yeah, definitely go to lectures, please.
I think for both assignments and exams, it is really valuable to have a group of people studying similar things, especially if it's the same course, who you can ask questions and who they can ask questions to you and you can explain. Learning by teaching is honestly, in my opinion, one of the best ways to learn. And I think I've learned the most by having friends doing the same course, and then we go back and forth and ask questions. A note of caution though, never share code, share any code as it relates to your assignments. It is ask questions, discuss coursework, never share code. That will get you got for plagiarism, obviously.
Okay, how to do well in exams. I don't actually know which is not to say that I don't do well in exams, it's just that I don't know how. I do past exams, so maybe that will help you. I'll tell you this, when I did INFS 1200, about halfway through the semester I just stopped everything. I just stopped going to lectures, stopped going to just everything, because it was kind of boring. And I just did all the past exams and I still got a 7, so.
I think, especially in like some of the first year courses, I think in terms of learning, it's really helpful to spend a lot of time on the assignments. A lot of them are sort of set up in a way, especially for like, I think CSC like 1001, maybe 2002, they're sort of set up in a way to help you learn the content as well. I would also say, like something that a lot of like first years don't do enough of, at least I've seen while tutoring, is that definitely take advantage of the fact that you can ask the tutors questions at any time. Usually there's like more tutors than there are people who want help. And I think that making sure that you understand something is pretty worthwhile. There's usually like a tutor there, especially to answer your questions. So don't be scared to ask questions if you don't understand something.
Other questions? Yes?
Is there one tip trick that the first year should know about UQ or school or course or whatever,
Okay, one tip or trick.
$4 basics at random from 3 to 4.
So in first year, if you want like a really cheap lunch, what you can do is have a walk around, go to like the sausage sizzle place, and then there's like 2 different sausage sizzle spots. If you want a really cheap lunch, I used to do this all the time in first year. It wasn't very healthy, but it was a good way to get a very cheap lunch. It's probably not a good tip. Maybe don't do that one. There used to be a Facebook page for that where people would put on like Facebook if someone was having a sausage sizzle. I think it's called like Sausage Watch or something. But it seems pretty inactive. I haven't been on it in a while, but yeah, that's one tip or trick.
So what you can do is you can just go around and look for an empty room and then just go in there and study there, and no one's going to stop you. That's pretty helpful, I think. I like it.
This is like pretty general, but usually in first year you make a bit of a friend group and you build up a friend group, and then everyone picks different majors. This for engineering more so, but even for computer science, everyone starts picking different specializations and then splits off in second year. So definitely try and figure out who's doing what and befriend people that you think you're going to be doing the same pathways. That'll definitely help you further down the track, because then you can work with them, not on the same assignments, but you can work with them in coursework later on. It's kind of planning ahead with your friendships almost.
Never skip your maths tutorials or cracks. Maths will lull you into a false sense of security with their easier assignments, and then they will screw you over on the exam. I often don't find computer science tutorials and practicals worth going to. No offense, tutors. Maths, even if they seem easy, always go to them. I've been burned. Not too badly, but I've been burned.
That definitely applies to 1072, 100%.
I know a guy who took Stat 2203 4 times. Whatever tutes. As for a tip or trick, I know several people have in the past set up highlights on Slack for bar tab. Could be worth a look.
My tip is find a favorite computer lab and then try and camp out there. So around the week 4 or 5 mark, people stop going to pracs, and that's when it's your time to just take a desk and sit there. That's your computer now. I recommend the first floor of GP South, which is over there, because it's like really bright, so you won't fall asleep, and it's so cold, so you won't fall asleep either. Yeah. Maybe bring gloves. Sometimes my fingers freeze up and I can't type, but yeah, that's my tip. It's probably not a good one, but.
Also for free food UQCS events. Speaking of, pizza will be arriving in like a few short minutes, but I think we'll probably have time for another question if someone would like to finish us off. Yes?
Sorry, I've been asking so many questions.
No worries.
You have mentioned working on stuff like side projects and stuff, even if it's not completing side projects and just doing 101. When do you think you can start working on doing side projects like that?
Now?
Okay.
The easiest thing could be setting up your own website, right? Make it look nice. If you can, just try and make it represent yourself. Look into some cool JavaScript stuff you can copy from the internet. And check your resume out there. Like, you never know who's going to look at it, but it's also good practice for you to just get used to maybe coding in an editor and putting your stuff out there. And then it'll be easier for you when you do projects later and you want to like know how to deploy them. You've already got that experience under your belt. Could be something starting small like that.
I'm going to reject the premise that you need side projects. If you think to yourself, hey, I'd like to spend half an hour winging out my VMRC, which was totally me, then good for you. If that turns into 5 hours over 5 weeks, good for you. If it becomes a critical addiction, then maybe stop. But you don't need to be doing side projects if you're not interested in it.
Yeah, definitely only if you're interested in it. And there's also a cruel reality where the further into your degree, you're like more skillful and you could do side projects better, but also you have a lot less time. So it's really good to start early. Even if you think you know nothing, definitely have a go if you feel like it.
I'd say whenever the inspiration strikes you, because you want a side project that you can like actually want to do, like look forward to doing, feel passionate about, maybe something you'll actually use. And you know, inspiration can strike in first year, anytime. Like, I don't think you should limit yourself to after a specific subject or like knowing a specific language. You find something that you want to do, that you look forward to doing, and you try to do it, even if it takes you a long time, even if it's doing something you've never done before, and you have no idea where to start. I think when you have inspiration is when you start.
Yeah, the others have said this too, but only do something if you actually want to do it. And if you don't want to do anything, then you don't need to.
Yeah, I'm sort of in the camp where I didn't really want to do a side project, so I didn't. But I think that there's a lot of like online platforms where you can learn. Like, even if they like don't teach a specific technology in uni, you can always like go online. There seems to be a lot of like platforms that sort of teach you sort of the basics, which can help you with any sort of side project. I think even like after you finish like CSC 1001, that's probably enough to like start looking around. I don't think, yeah. I don't think there's like a specific time to like start doing side projects, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I also agree with that. You don't need to do a side project, but after 1001, you'll definitely have the skills to be able to, for example, contribute to the UQCS Discord board. So there's like some easy issues that you'll be able to do that. So I haven't gotten a text about pizza yet, but what's it? Yeah, we can probably do one or two more questions. Yes. Oh, you. Mike.
Is there anything that you feel that your degree didn't prepare you for now that you're doing internships or jobs, or that you think your degree won't prepare you for? You may have to go off and do that separately.
I think that there wasn't a whole lot of overlap between the things that I did in my degree versus the things that I used in a job. I think maybe it's like sort of like problem solving skills, logical thinking, like that's always useful. But I think I did learn most of it on the job. But I think I've also been lucky to be in positions where they didn't expect me to know a whole lot. Especially in internships, again, like probably don't need to know a whole lot, but yeah, it seems like there isn't a lot of overlap because like I think the main shocker is like the code bases that you look at, that you work on in uni are like very, very small compared to like when you go into like any company. So that was sort of like the main thing that was a bit different. But I think most of the skills you can learn on the job, which is pretty good.
Not applicable.
I think basically all the collaborative things. So Git, you know, generally collaborative platform, Confluence, Jira, organizational stuff that you can't really get experience with like doing on your own. There are group projects in things like deco courses that might prepare you better. I dislike deco courses, truthfully. So maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just my fault for not choosing them. It may very well be. But I think that is something I felt a little bit underprepared for. Additionally, figuring out how pieces fit together for like full stack applications, like figuring out how to write an API call, figuring out how to decode the JSON that you get, setting up a server, that kind of stuff is obviously hard to teach, but I felt underprepared for. Also testing. In CSSC 2002, they introduced you to a bit of it, but I think it is an underrated part. As an intern, they'll probably put you on a lot of testing, and you can definitely learn on the job fairly quickly, but it's something I didn't see coming.
Yeah, I would say there's mainly two things. Probably the most important to me would be get good at reading lots of code and understanding how it works. Early on in jobs, you've got to be have a lot of code thrown at you and be like, oh, we need this fixed or we need this added, and you need to quickly look at it and be like, okay, what does each function do, or what does each part of this actually do? Whether it's a language you don't even know yet and you're just going to learn it by reading code, I would recommend that. I never thought I'd be using TypeScript, but there I was having to read TypeScript. But so yeah, definitely just throw a bunch of code at yourself, whether it's just online. Kind of just read through and think, okay, what does this do? And kind of prove that to yourself, whether it means running it or just looking online. The second thing would be, I'm going to say it again, DevOps is always neglected, especially with projects you're doing yourself. No one can be bothered to run it in a Docker container or run as a separate application. So definitely learn the basics when it comes to a few DevOps things like Git and Docker, because it's always impressive for an employer. And they're pretty commonly used, like if you're going to be working in generic programming, whether it's full stack or back end. Yeah.
I'm of the opinion personally that Kubernetes is probably going to make things more complicated than it solves, but opinions vary on that. What else was I going to say? Can we go back to it?
I kind of forgot what I was going to say, but something. This end of the table. But something I think you should, I guess, get familiar with is knowing how to name your variables and methods. As your tutors have probably said it a bunch of times, I don't know what function does something does, but it is really bad when you look at your own code after a while, or even if you look at someone else's code and they've got like return like street address, and then they don't return a string and they return like a boolean. And you're like, what's even happening here? So name everything really well, and it's definitely a valuable skill that employers will find as well.
Right. What I was going to say was communication, particularly written communication, is not something that is really ever taught, I think, and it's not necessarily demonstrated in an exemplary way in group projects especially. Learning to write things in a way which is clear, unambiguous, concise, friendly still, is so important, be it in internal communications, reviews, merge requests, comments. It is all over the place and it is essential, and I would love to see more of it.
Yeah, I still haven't gotten a notification about pizza. So another question. I don't know if this is like personal, but I was just wondering what kind of things you put in your resume that you think really help you land internships?
I don't know. I'm not. I don't know what they really look for. I know most large companies probably do some filtering, but in that I think they're really looking for buzzwords, which I hate. I hate so much. But really try and put projects you've done, any work experience is good, doesn't have to be in the field of tech. Just show that, you know, you have done something or you've tried to do something and you can work with other people. A lot of jobs, they really do look at communication skills over your technical skills. And when you do land that interview, they aren't looking at your technical skills too hard then.
I can't listen and think at the same time, it turns out. Yeah, I also, before I started getting grad type tech jobs, didn't have internship type experience. What I did do was, again, any office job can be made into a tech job. So I had a data entry job on there that I kind of emphasized how I used AutoHotline and SQL and Microsoft Access to improve our processes. And I think that worked pretty well.
Yeah, I would say definitely, first of all, with the cover letter, just go to the company website and copy and paste their values and just put it straight in. Obviously other stuff too, but that's definitely just plagiarize. No, I'm not kidding. But and I would say also, when it comes to extracurricular stuff, even if it's not a job, it's just volunteering, anything teamwork based, just throw it in, because that's what they mainly look for. So yeah, society things or just job-related things, just ham up the teamwork and also the technical stuff a lot.
So my resume was pretty bare bones because I kind of applied to an internship, one at a small company, two on a whim, kind of last minute. I wasn't planning on doing an internship over the summer. And I think this is going to be unconventional, but my GPA actually, if you have a good GPA, it's worth putting it on there. It seemed to impress my employer enough to get me the position. And that's essentially all I had on there. So it can, if you have a good GPA, it's worth putting on that.
I can't stand writing resumes, so if you're anything like me, try to get someone else to do it for you.
Yeah, I've always been in the position that I just didn't really have much to put on my resume. I remember like getting to half a page and thinking, oh no, I'm done already. So really, yeah, for the longest time, I think I just put anything that I could, like school, like the one job that I had. I think that there's a lot of pressure to have a really beefed up resume, even though you're like in first or second year. And I think that, I'm not sure how true this is, but I think that employers know that if you're in first or second year, you're not going to have a super beefed up resume. So yeah, I think, yeah, I definitely had to get by for a long time with a very minimal resume, but yeah.
Yeah. Obviously pizza is ready, but I will just end on a note. Also, someone said bar tab before, and for reference, a bar tab is basically like a bunch of money pooled in together that people can buy drinks off of, and then once it's exhausted, people can't buy drinks anymore. Anyways, yeah, we can go get pizza.
Yeah. So first of all, give a round of applause to our they all donated their time. Many of them have jobs and probably just came from their jobs as well. So it's 6 p.m. and this is a Thursday night. I'm sure they would probably rather be doing something else, but they get a free feed like everyone else, which is what's next. So first of all, we have presents for all of our panelists. We have a UQCS mug, and for our special dinosaur, we have a special one as well, which is an old UQCS mug, which I'm sure you already have one anyway, but we thought we'd give you another.
Can we ask just one final question? What's the shark for?
Blahage is a plush toy sold by IKEA. There are a lot of emoji in the Slack and Discord around Blahage. That's it.
Oh, okay.
It's also
So
the
it's like
UQCS.
mascot?
Yeah, it's a mascot for UQCS as well.
Blahage is now our new mascot. We have merch and stickers coming, pending. Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's no rhyme or reason to it, we just thought we could do it. Does anyone have any last final questions before we disappear and go get pizza? Yeah.
Yeah, so you said like a good GPA, right? That's very great. Can you like give a range or
Sorry, what was that?
sorry, the range for good GPA.
A range of, maybe anything above a 6?
Don't feel bad about that though, it's totally okay to not have a good GPA.
You can lie.
You do not you do not need a good GPA. It's just if you have it.
Was somebody else have a question? No, yeah,
We're talking about 5 rounds.
What programming languages have you found most useful in like careers and stuff and internships and stuff in general?
Python.
Sadly, JavaScript. No hate to JavaScript, but yes, hate to JavaScript. But you will probably, if you work on full stack, you probably will use that or TypeScript at some point. And I just like C because it teaches you good core values for programming. You probably won't use it, but it's really good for the foundation.
Python is tremendous. You cannot avoid JavaScript, no matter what you do. I spent about 4 years working in a place where being able to read old Perl, 20-year-old Perl, was really valuable. You pick that up as you go.
For me, I work in backend, so I use a lot of Java, but like custom enterprise Java. So it's more something you might have to learn on the job. I hope you don't have an enterprise license, but yeah.
Also bash scripting.
I'm going to second Python, that's very useful. It's got some very lovely packages. SQL Alchemy, I love very much, very close to my heart. I really like Flutter, which is a front-end language. I'm a huge fan of Flutter because it's not JavaScript, and that's about it.
Yeah, Flutter's awesome. I looked into that a few months ago. It runs on just about everything, and yeah, it's cool. Same, Python's also cool. If you're interested in functional programming, then check out Pascal.
Yeah, I agree with that. Flutter is pretty cool. I think useful languages is sort of difficult to say because every company has their own sort of stack, so it's really difficult to sort of target your skills towards one. I think, yeah, I've used a lot of JavaScript. That seems to be like, I think anyone who has like, I don't know, a lot of companies that have like web apps probably will use JavaScript. Fun programming language that you might want to learn is OCaml. That one's pretty fun, but not very useful. OCaml, like camel, as in the one, yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty fun, but not very useful. So like it's not used very commonly by like most places, so yeah, it's fun though.
I might just add another thing there as well, is that languages are good and all, but learning the practices around programming is probably more important, because then your skills will be generally applicable and you'll be able to pick up any language in a company you go to, and that's probably more important or more beneficial to an employer than being an expert in one specific Python package, unless you do machine learning. Are there any final questions? Cool. Well, with that, I think we're ready to go to pizza. We'll just leave it out this door. We got a little bit of a walk, but not too far.